Hello there, GCSEers. And you'll probably remember this picture from last week and refer back to the questions that you maybe came up with last week in your Philosophy for Children lesson. And that was the idea of probably what is a miracle, or do miracles happen, and in the modern world can we truly understand whether there's miracles or not. And it begs the question, is there such a thing as miracles? And here you can see some newspaper articles that seem to suggest that there are. Recent newspaper articles that suggest miraculous things happening, babies being cured miraculously and all this kind of thing. And it begs the question, especially for religious people, about what is a miracle. And this first unit, we're going to look at that question, what is a miracle? Now, here you can see the three ideas that most people think a miracle is. Number one, something that breaks the laws of nature. Number two, an act of God. Or number three, a lucky coincidence, something that, just sort of happens. So we're going to explore each of those in turn, and then look at some religious believers and what they actually think a miracle actually is. So the first one, something that breaks the laws of nature. Now, laws of nature, we can see them all the time. Isaac Newton here, you can see, he suggested that the whole universe acts under certain laws, and you'll learn about those laws in science. But something that breaks the laws of nature, you could look at that from a religious point of view. Jesus' resurrection certainly breaks the laws of nature. No one can be dead for 3 days and then rise from the dead. It breaks the laws of nature. So many religious believers, Christians all over the world, believe that that miracle breaks the laws of nature. And indeed some other things seem to break the laws of nature that can seem to be miraculous, that don't necessarily seem to be as big as Jesus' resurrection, but other things as well. We're going to look at those when we come to the idea of a lucky coincidence. Now, the second one is obviously that a miracle is an act of God. God working in the world. Now, some of these miracles we may have looked at when we looked at Revelation, but I'm just going to remind you of a couple. Here's a lady that you remember, Sally McCloy, and if you recall, she actually went to Lourdes and was cured of cancer. Now, she would believe that that was God acting through the place Lourdes and the miraculous ideas of Lourdes and cured her of cancer. And certainly only God could do something like that. Cancer, it cannot be cured, especially not in the state that Sally McCloy is. She expected to die very quickly, and yet she was cured of cancer. Now we know now that cancer can be cured in certain cases, but it's probably not in the advanced stages that it was for Sally McCloy. So miracle is an act of God, and here's some other examples of how some people in the world see an act of God, and you might recognise some of them from Revelation. And the third one is a miracle just a lucky coincidence? Something that happens. Now, you remember the story last week that we looked at with the baby falling on the train, and a number of you actually said, no, that's not a miracle, that's just something lucky. It's a coincidence. They fell just in the right place and the train went over them. And, it's a 1,000,000 to 1 chance, but that 1,000,000 to 1 chance has to happen every now and again, and that baby was very lucky that it was a 1,000,000 to 1 chance. Another example might be Stairwell B. The Stairwell B miracle is quite a famous miracle, where 16 people survived, and maybe you want to have a look at that one. But actually 16 people survived when one of the twin towers fell, and amazingly, billions to 1 chance, but some might say no, not a miracle. It's called the miracle of Stairwell B, but it's not a miracle. It's actually just pure lucky coincidence. So those are the three ideas about what actually a miracle is, and I want you to come to your conclusion. Which one do you think it actually is? Is it something that breaks the laws of nature? Can God or human beings even force something to break the laws of nature? Number one. Are miracles an act of God? Theists would certainly say, most theists would certainly say, that miracles are an act of God. Indeed, Christianity is based upon somebody rising from the dead after 3 days and God rising them from the dead. That could be both something that breaks the laws of nature and an act of God. It certainly couldn't be a lucky coincidence, the third one, but it could be those first two. Jesus' resurrection, Christianity is based on it, is seeming to be those first two things. Or finally, is it a lucky coincidence? Things like the baby falling on the train or the Stairwell B miracle, which you might want to look at into a bit more detail. Now, most religious believers, some in the world, do believe that miracles happen. Indeed, as I said before, Christianity is based on a miracle. Jesus is rising from the dead. Without Jesus rising from the dead, there would be no defeat of death, there would be no heaven for Christians, and therefore that there would be no no afterlife, no hope for the future, all those kind of things. But other miracles that Jesus performed, he performed walking on the water, as you can see here, or turning water into wine, which we looked at when we looked at drugs. Those kind of miracles as well Jesus performed. And even now today, people believe that the Holy Spirit is acting in the world and curing certain people, like Sally McCloy in Lourdes, or other miracles that Christians believe are real. So God working in the world today, even, God performing those miracles today. And we're going to look at Hindus as well. And Hindus believe in miracles. For example, we're going to look at this one in a bit more detail. I'll put a picture up here about the milk miracle. And we're going to look at this a bit more detail next lesson. But some people believe that at one point in time, very recently, and it's got YouTube evidence, you can look at it on YouTube and videos of statues, Hindu statues throughout the world, drinking milk. Something that's impossible. A statue can't drink milk, but you can see it there. Now, atheists and other people believe that not an action of God, a miracle is not an action of God, but just a lucky coincidence, something that happens. Now, I want you just to think about this. Which one of those three do you think it is? Is something that breaks the laws of nature? Can we indeed break the laws of nature? Newton here would say, no, we definitely can't. Are they an act of God? Does God come down and act differently in the world today and save, say the baby on the train, or the people in the stairwell B, or all those kind of things? Or thirdly, are they just a lucky coincidence? Well, ladies and gentlemen, as usual at the end of the day, what do you think?